seats. Also in the gallery are students of Kingdom Favorite Model Academy from Garam, Niger State. We are already standing. Round of applause for them. Thank you for coming. Kindly take your seats. Last but not least, students of Cherryfield Nursery and Primary School from Gorimpa Estate to Abuja. Round of applause for them. Thank you for coming. Kindly take your seats. Further announcements. This is to remind members of the Committee on Housing that the meeting has been scheduled today as follows. 3 p.m. Meeting room 144, House of Representatives, New Extension. Time is 3 p.m. Honorable Mahmoud A. Mohammed, Chairman. Notification of the date of the paramount ruler of Adara Chiefdom in Kaduna State. This to bring to the notice of the House the unfortunate death of the paramount ruler of Adara Chiefdom in Kaduna State, His Royal Majesty Dr. Maiwada Raphael Galadima Agom Adara. You may recall the royal father was abducted alongside his wife and driver by armed gunmen on Thursday the 18th of October 2018 in an incident which also led to the death of some members of his entourage, including his police orderly. The sad news of the revered monarch's death broke out on Friday, 26th of October 2018, when his dead body was found by the roadside at Kateri village along Kaduna-Abuja Highway. May the soul of the royal father rest in perfect peace. Announcer, Honorable Yakubu Umar Barde. Honorable colleagues, may we please rise to observe a minute silence in honor of the departed monarch. Gentle soul of the late monarch rest in perfect peace. Any member has a petition to present to the House, may please rise to do so. Any petition? No petition. Move to point of order on matters of urgent public importance. First one will be taken from Honorable Johnson Johnny Boguma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I am Honorable Johnson Egwahide Oguma, representing all the people of Etako Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my matter of urgent public importance this morning has to do with the urgent need to forestall impending earthquakes in Nigeria. And wish to move that the relevant order 8, rule 4 and 7 be suspended to allow me to take this matter because to me it's urgent and important. Mr. Speaker, so moved.
First motion, that the matter be accepted as urgent. Seconder, Honorable Doe Diri.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Esteemed colleagues, I remain Diri Doye, representing Yenagwako Lokmo Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion as moved by Johnson. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Second limb of the motion, that we suspend our relevant rules to enable him take the motion now. Honorable Rana will second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Mohammed San Ali Uranu. I am from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the second leg of this motion that this House do suspend our relevant rules so that the matter be taken immediately. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Oguma, you can now move your motion.
Right Honorable Speaker, sir, and my distinguished colleagues, I am Honorable Johnson Negwahide Oguma, representing all the people of Etako Federal Constituency from Edo State. By matter of urgent public importance this morning is the urgent need to forestall the pending earthquakes in Nigeria. The House notes would concern the recent cases of earth tremor experienced in the months of September and October 2018 in the Federal Capital Territory around Pape and Metama axis, raising fears of imminent earthquake. Also note that earth tremor is a form of seismic movement within the earth, which occurs at a small scale but can lead to earthquakes if preventive measures are not taken to reduce the stress. Aware that reports by Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, indicates that the incident was likely caused by stress in underground rocks resulting from human activities, which include blasting and mining of rocks. Further aware that the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASA, have reported that communities in 4 states and Abuja may likely witness earthquakes if necessary preventive and monitoring devices are not employed immediately. Determined to ensure preventive measures are taken to stop the catastrophe from happening, the House resolves to mandate the Committee on Environment to interface with relevant departments of Federal Ministry of Environment, agencies and parastatals to ascertain the levels of monitoring and compliance with the World Global Standards in blasting, mining and borehole drilling, which have been identified by experts to be the latent cause of the seismic movement. Further mandate the Committee on Environment to report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Frederick.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Shagbedi Yetimna Frederick is my name. I represent Sagbama Kremon Federal Constituency. Zonkeme, I am from Bayelsa State. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Honorable Oguma Oshomoda. So second.
Honorable Oguma, please speak to the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And my distinguished colleagues, I remain Honorable Johnson Negwahide Oguma, representing all the people of Etako Federal Constituency from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, recent happenings has opened the eyes of Nigerians to what happened between September and October in Pape, Metama, where some earth tremor was noticed. Before now, it's declared and assumed that due to the location of Nigeria very close to the equator, that such things were hardly expected from based on our location globally. But unfortunately, from recent happening, from economic activities in some areas, it has become an eye-opener to us that we need to take some certain measures to forestall or prevent for the occurrence, because of the disaster may be very, very fatal. So that is why there is need to carry out a thorough and immediate in-depth study of seismic studies across the country. So also so that such hotspots, some hotspots that have been identified all over the nation, so that we can quickly monitor them, use some experts through other satellite monitoring and on the ground. We need to take such action so that we can forestall the impending dangers. Some areas that are prone to stress need to be regulated, so that economic activities that are happening in such areas, we need to monitor them. And also to standardize the use of explosives and regulate them properly, so that we don't expose our people to danger of earth tremor. Also, the mining activities around the countries need to be monitored. The drilling of boreholes all over Nigeria. You know, before now, we had central water system connected to homes, streets, but you now discover that all over Nigeria now boreholes are everywhere, and at times in some compounds, you discover that even some tenants will be having different events. Like in Lagos, you discover some tenants have their own private boreholes in a compound where you have almost 6 flats. So all those things need to be regulated, and we need to at least quickly call on the relevant agencies to stand up to the responsibility, so that our society can be safe and prevent destruction of lives and property, and make the environment very, very homely and economically viable, so that peace, our people can sleep with their 2 eyes closed. So, Mr. Speaker, this matter is very, very urgent, because no one can tell where it will happen. So that is why this morning I felt that we need to visit what happened September, October in Abuja and discuss it. So I crave the indulgence of my honorable members, of our colleagues, to please speak to this matter, and let's address it so that preventive measures can be taken. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any more contributor? No. EJ.
My right honorable speaker and dear colleagues, I remain Honorable E.J. Agboanyima, member representing the good people of Ego, Ubaha Federal Constituency, Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for yielding for me to speak on this very important motion, matter of urgent public importance, that will be moved by my honorable friend, colleagues, Honorable Johnson Oguma. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Oguma has brought a very, very serious issue that has to do in our dear nation. They say prevention is better than cure. Mr. Speaker, I want us to take this very serious, my honorable colleagues. What is happening these days is worrisome, and nobody knows whether their neighborhood will be the next. Like you have rightly said, growing up in this country, we used to have tap water running everywhere. Today, Mr. Speaker, borehole is everywhere. And there's a reaction effect that nobody knows. You see a lot of things happening in other parts of the world. Because Nigeria is highly blessed by God. God has been protecting us, because we have not set
anything aside to see how we can put, fat issue to prevent having some plans, how to prevent such, occurrences. Those living in their home, I have a friend who said, EJ, I was sleeping and the house was shaking. What has happened? What's happened? I went to my children's bedroom, grabbed them. I didn't even remember my wife. So it was when after I took my children out of the house, before I have to go back to go and wake my wife up. So Mr. Speaker, in America, you will see they think about the future. They plan for the future. They plan against such occurrences of things that will happen. Even like you go to California, they always experience earthquake. They always plan. But here in Nigeria, we don't plan. Once you fail to plan, you have already failed in totality. So let's put some measure to prevent, to see if only we wake up and see that borehole is no longer important because of the government being able to have, water system in our country. Because what we are going to experience, I hope it is not during my time in this world. Because what is happening, the issue of borehole has taken center fold of issue that government should be the one. Everybody now have borehole. Even when you have 6 flats, you have about 6 borehole in different flats that be purchased by different individuals. And this is not going to augur well, it's not going to help us. Rather, it's going to create anarchy. And we must prevent the anarchy so that at the end of the day, we have nobody to blame. Past government has failed with the money that we have gotten from both from mineral resources, the crude oil, everything has been mortgaged, gone to voicemail as a result of a total failure of past government. When government is continuous, I'm appealing to the present government to also act. This matter is a matter of urgent public importance. When such a thing happens, it doesn't care whether you are APC, whether you are PDP, whether you are after. What it cares is that he has come to consume, and we must protect that occurrences so that it does not affect us, Mr. Speaker. I know you don't want something to happen in our time. That is my prayer, that God will remove every obstacle, every evil that will befall this country. Because I want this country to be a better country and be a greater country. And I believe that Nigeria can be among the leading nations if all of us collectively put hands together without playing partisan politics. At the end of the day, Nigeria will be one again. My honorable colleagues, Oguma, thank you for this wonderful motion, and I appeal to all of us to support this matter of urgent public importance without fear of favor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues.
Honorable Abiete.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, my esteemed colleagues. I remain, as always, our Jindombeg Dagomie Abiante. I represent Anthony Opobo Ukoro, Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues. I want to thank my friend and my brother for bringing this up. But apart from that, I think I'm grateful to God that this is happening at this time. And it is not happening at the Kremo. Neither is it happening in Boni or in Bile. But that it is happening in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, sending a signal that indeed something is wrong with the management of our environment. If it had happened in this area that I mentioned, it wouldn't have attracted any attention. For years, these environments have been devastated. For years, the challenges associated with this nonchalant attitude of ours towards the environment has been very obvious. You have erosion everywhere. You even have things worse than these 8 tremors in the areas where Nigeria has benefited over the years, but nobody pays attention to it. The pollution that we have is as a result of equivalent things that we are doing. My friend and colleague had alluded to the suspicion that it could be as a result of mining activities. Mining has been going on. Several other areas have been mined before now. What this calls for is that there should be a holistic approach to issues. It might not be your turn today, but if it is happening somewhere else, please pay attention to it. We have also spoken to the fact that everybody needs to have a borehole. Let us be frank with ourselves. If people don't drill boreholes, where would they have survived from? We have not been able to provide water for ourselves. Even areas where they are no longer functional. There has to be a balance. I can't stand to say I condemn everybody for having borehole. We simply have to rise up to the challenges that we have before us. And in looking at this issue, Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, I want it to be very holistic. It shouldn't be restricted to the tremors in Abuja alone. We should go beyond that. Look at the areas where one form of mining has been undertaken over time and understudy to find out the potential challenges. If they are not evident now, they may be evident tomorrow. That is my submission, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I guess that marks the end to the debate. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Next matter of urgent public importance will come from Honorable Toby Okechukwu. Try it.
Come here. I want it for you. Come here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Maybe there are some attachments to this matter. I come under 8 Rule 4 on a matter of urgent public importance. Mr. Speaker, I want to present to this House of the People the attack on the Deputy President of the Senate, the attempt on his family and himself. And I wish that the House and yourself grant me the permission to come under our rules and that it be held urgently and today. Thank you very much.
Seconder to the motion that is certain, Honorable Sam Onibo.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Sam Onibo, I represent the good people of Great Iguano Umuahia. Speaker, I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Toby Okechukwu. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Anayo will second the second leg of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Respected colleagues, I remain Honorable Anayo Edwin. I represent the good people of Ezano, the Shady Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ebonyi State. I rise to second the second leg of the motion that has been moved by Honorable Toby Okechukwu. I so second. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Toby, please move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wojiriba Federal Constituency from Enugu State. This is a matter of urgent public importance on the armed attack on the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, and members of his family. The House notes with severe concern the attempt on the life of the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, CFR, and members of his family. The House further notes that on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, at about 4 a.m., some men armed with dangerous weapons and house-breaking devices discreetly evaded the security at the upper residence of the Deputy President of the Senate and gained entry into his house. The House is aware that the armed men took hold of Senator Ekweremadu's son and commanded him to lead them to his father's bedroom. The House further notes, is further aware that it was at the Senator's bedroom that a struggle ensued between the Deputy Senate President along with his son and the assailants, leading to the arrest of one of the armed men while the rest managed to escape. The House is aware of the poor response of the Nigerian police in spite of several calls to various officers at the early stages of the attack. The House is cognizant of the need to ensure the security of lives and property of all Nigerians, irrespective of class, tribe, or religion. The House resolves to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the attack on the Deputy President of the Senate and members of his family and the circumstances regarding the late response of the Nigerian police to this emergency. 2. Urge the relevant security agencies to ensure increased security and surveillance around the Deputy President of the Senate as well as other leaders of the National Assembly. I so move.
Seconder. Honorable Shuaibu Abdurrahman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Abdurrahman Shuaibu. I represent Mobi North, Mobi South, and my half-federal constituency. I'm from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the honorable member. I so second.
Honorable Toby, can you lead the debate, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, it is with sadness and helplessness that I seek the intervention of this House regarding what has become one too many on attacks on the Deputy President of the Senate. He is now harassed by some agencies, is under attack by criminals and hoodlums. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, on the 6th of November, by 4 a.m., the Deputy President of the Senate was accosted with some hoodlums, who had access to his bedroom You need to watch the clip of what happened. And it is only by God's intervention that the man is alive today. But the sad aspect of this was the fact that on several phone calls to the Nigerian police, including the IG, whose phone was off, the DIG, almost about 7 calls, there wasn't any intervention. It took almost 7 hours for the divisional police officer to come to his house. As a matter of fact, the senator was not only responsible for securing himself, he had to resort to self-help by attacking the assailants. And it's just by God's will that he was able to overcome that exposure to risk. As a matter of fact, his son had his head broken. And as I talk to you, he's still in the hospital. And it is unfortunate that the police that took hours to respond, when they eventually came, they came to a summary conclusion that it was burglary. And they have not had access to all the evidence. They have not even interviewed all the people involved. Some of the assailants that have escaped have not even been interviewed. They have not been arrested. So it would go to account for with regard to the quality of policing we have in this country. If it may not be possible for anybody to determine who goes to anybody's house to attack, but the little our law enforcement agents owe us is to intervene quickly and make sure that thorough investigation is done, so that preventive action is taken to avert anybody being subject to this type of malady. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think it is important that when any of our citizens is threatened, we should respond adequately. You don't have to be highly placed. You only have to be a Nigerian, and that is what the Nigerian state owes you. And when you are highly placed, the expectation is that you should, because you are a politically exposed person, the expectation is that you should have adequate protection. And if this could happen to somebody who is so privileged, who is about the number 5 person in this country, I now wonder what happens to us less mortals and people in our communities. So the reason why this is being brought is not just because of Senator Ekweremadu. It is more importantly with regard to the quality of services we render. We need to make amends where it is necessary. And we must determine why this response has to come the way it did, whether it's a matter of laxity or it's a matter of willfulness not to respond to this type of emergency. So, honorable colleagues, I want to crave the indulgence of my colleagues that you support this motion and that this type of peril should be prevented. Thank you very much.
Honorable Rano.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Mohammed Sani Aliu. I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make an amendment on the prayer of this motion, especially the prayer which reads that the House set a committee for the investigation of this attack. There is no time frame for the work of the committee. Therefore, I want to make an amendment that this committee should report back to the House within 2 or 3 weeks. I so move.
Are you seconding the amendment? Any seconder to the amendment? Honorable Dambara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Dambara Mabakano, representing Kano Municipal, and the only gentleman from the municipality in the whole of the Green Chambers, and I'm from Kano. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the amendment moved by my good brother, Honorable Ranu. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Any further contribution? Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleague, my name is Yakubu Umar Birthday. I represent Chukun Kajuru Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate that day in, day out, our discussion has always been on security. That at its main is very important. But Mr. Speaker, I have some silent questions I want to ask. I'm very much aware that the DSP has security agents in his house. They are numbering up to 10 or if not more than. And if a silence, as it said, we enter his house, number one, we are not aware where there was gunshot, whether somebody was killed or the policemen were attacked. That is the question we should ask. If they were able to go in without any resistance, and it took the grace of God that the DSP and the son were strong enough to be able to hold one of the assailants, then the question here is, what were the policemen in the house doing? Were they sleeping? Because we are made to know that they came in around 4 a.m. I think this is something that should be investigated. That is one. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, every day we talk about security. And for me, one of the cardinal points to know that there's improvement in security is the response time to call from emergency. When there's an emergency, and up till today, the response time usually is maybe between 1 hour or 2 hours, sometimes even 3 hours before there's response from the security agency. Now, if in the wisdom of this very National Assembly, we used to appropriate money to security agencies, and we are telling Nigerians that there is improvement in terms of security. And we have not seen a reduction in the response time when there is an emergency. Because from the mover of the motion, I'm made to know that even when the Deputy Senate President made the call, the response was very slow. The question here is, why was the response time very big? I know where the police station in Apo Legislative Quarters is. Usually if you are going to walk, it's just like 300 meters to the Deputy Senate President's house. Does it mean it will take the police 1 hour or 30 minutes to walk a distance of 300 meters? This is the pertinent question that we must ask. What really happened? Now, I spoke with a security officer yesterday, a high-level security officer, because we debated the issue of killing or kidnapping in along Abuja Road or all over Nigeria. And one thing he told me was, even when we appropriate money, our committees in this house, who are saddled with the responsibility of making sure that our security perform optimally, we should ask them, any money that has been appropriated for security, is it really released? And if this money is not released, we don't have any local standing to blame the security agencies. Because if the money is not released to them, how do we expect them to perform? I have in confidence, a very high-level security officer told me in this country that since January up to date, most of the security agencies have not received a dime, and now we want them to perform. Mr. Speaker, I think we should tell the committees in this house, we must give security a priority. Even money are not released for other projects. The project of security is paramount. It is only in an atmosphere of peace and tranquility that we can talk of developmental projects. But when people cannot even go to their to do their businesses in the market because of fear of insurgents, of being kidnapped, it is something that, Mr. Speaker, I think we should tell the committees that are saddled with oversight of security to make sure if these monies are released to our security agencies, and if these monies are not released to them, then we must, as a house, make sure that if money will not be released for anything, security should be exempted. Security monies should be released to them so that they can perform. Because the truth about it is that some of these security agencies are operating under hardship. Hardship in the sense that the equipment are not there, they cannot buy it. So I'm even made to aware that there are even requests to buy security equipment from some countries. And these countries, because of global politics, they refuse to supply this security equipment to Nigeria. And I think this is where Parliament should come in, to help this country. If they cannot talk on the level of executive to executive, the legislators can talk to the legislator of this country or America or Russia or China to make sure that we are able to access this modern equipment so that we'll be able to fight insurgents. We must, and we have our chairperson on foreign affairs, we have a responsibility to see how we can come in terms of foreign relations, so that we don't allow politics, global politics, to affect our internal security. It is very important. We must do something as a parliament to talk to the parliament of advanced countries who have this equipment to make sure that when we request for them, they will say, oh, because you bought your helicopters from America, Russia is not going to give you the working material or the need for replacement. Or because you bought your helicopter from Russia, America will do politics and say they are not going to give us. This is what is happening. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to see how we can synergize with parliament of other countries to make sure that we don't suffer. Because what is happening today, there is global politics where some developed countries are feeling that we are not patronizing them in terms of military hardware. So they are not willing to sell it to us. How do we help? We need everybody, and we need the global cooperation of all international countries, of all other countries, so that we can help to alleviate the suffering of our people in terms of security. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Dambram Abubakar Nuhu, representing Kano Municipal, the only gentleman from the municipality, the whole of the great chambers, and I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, let me say that I feel sorry for all of us that this thing has become a decimal occurrence. Every day we come here to the chambers and there is one issue or the other of insecurity in this country. Either issues of insurgency, issues that has to do with kidnapping, killings among ourselves, all issues that has to do with security or with insecurity in this country. Why I feel sorry for all of us, Mr. Speaker, is that we come here and every day on this floor we observe 1 minute silence for the loss of our beloved ones, and motions are moved, resolutions are reached, and when motions and resolutions are reached, it stops there. To me, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, we need to rise to do what needs to be done in this country as far as the issue of insecurity is concerned. We as Parliament ourselves, we are guilty because we have not done what we are supposed to do as a Parliament. If the government is not responsive and is not securing the citizens of this country, the Constitution is there. The Constitution has clearly stated what needs to be done to ensure that government has become responsible. And it's a responsibility of the government to ensure full security within the country. So, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, to me, we should say enough is enough of lamentation on this issue of insecurity. I challenge all of us, all my colleagues, that we should rise up to the occasion and ensure that we do the needful within the confines of what has been provided in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, my honorable colleagues.
The comrade retired.
No. Honorable Speaker, I am from Kano State, and my name is Comrade Amin Suleiman. I represent Kagi Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to join all those who have identified with the DSP over the irreprehensible act or attempt on him or his house, and to say that it's unwarranted, unfortunate, and quite unacceptable. It is my opinion that security agencies and leadership should further strategize on the efforts they are putting to secure our country and our people. However, Mr. Speaker, I am worried, very, very worried, sometimes with the nature and character of our discussion as it affects issues, particularly security. I am worried because as we speak, and as representative of the people, we should be mindful of situations we report in a manner that will not leave room for questionable questions. I agree with the Deputy Minority Leader who asked some salient question, and it is my opinion that Honorable Toby should be asked to return and address some of those issues, because he alleged that the would-be assassinator walked freely into the house of a president of the Senate. This is very serious, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to ask, like the Deputy Minority Leader cited, are there no security on duty in the house of the Deputy Senate President? I can guess the complement of security that the Deputy Senate President have. And it is my opinion, because I neighbor the police station in Apo and the house of the Deputy Senate President. And I can confirm to you, sir, honorable colleagues, that the complement of security that the Deputy Senate President have is more than the entire security that we have in the Apo division. So why do even anybody need the police station to respond to emergency in the Senate President House? These are questions that must be answered by Honorable Toby. Honorable Toby is my very good friend, and he is just a floor member like myself. Each time I go to his house to assess his house, it's usually difficult. I have to run into security scrutiny as ordinary with due respect as he is. So if I cannot assess his house, how can we conclude that the house of the Deputy Senate President is so porous and without security that this incident could happen? I agree it's happened, but the insinuation he made that there are no security needed to be clarified.
If he clarifies this, and we agree that there are no security, then I will vote that this House conduct a very, very strong investigation with a view to punishing the culprit. However, if the story is not like that, I think Toby too needed to visit the ethics to explain why he will give information that is not correct. We needed also to at times press our security agencies. It should not always be that we stand up here to criticize, to condemn them as if they are not doing anything. When there is reason for us to do, we criticize them. But we don't invent what is not true. So I urge Mr. Speaker to ask Toby to return back and explain to us how the Senate President, Deputy Senate President of the House could stay without a security even for a minute. I so submit.
Honorable Gabriel, and then Honorable Rotimi will round off.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Gabriel Onyemwife is my name. I represent Chuyi. I am a federal constituency. I'm from Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion as moved by Honorable Toby Okechukwu. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have once asked a question here on the security situation in this country. If gold can rust, where lies the fate of metals? The retired comrade, in an effort to attack the motion with a supporting argument canvassed by Honorable Toby Okechukwu, raised some fundamental questions to the issue of if gold can rust, what happens to metals? We are talking of the Deputy Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are talking of a man that we know is number 5 in the country. We are talking of a man, according to the comrade, that had a retinue of security personnel. If we follow what has been submitted by the retired comrade, are we not forced to conclude that some compromise might have come into question? Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious issue. Mr. Speaker, if the House of the Deputy Senate President can be invaded, call it by those who wanted to burgle his house, or those who even wanted to steal, or worse still, an assassination attempt, what is the fate of Honorable Gabriel Onyemwife? What is the fate of other ordinary honorable members that don't go with the security? And we are talking about a serious issue that should be of a monumental national concern, and it is being trivialized by some unnecessary arguments. Mr. Speaker, the worrisome aspect of this very particular issue is that if we look at the headlines this morning, police have started investigation on an assassination attempt, but it is burglary, meaning that the police has already concluded the investigation and the outcome is that it is burglary. What is the essence of the police starting investigation when they can make statement that it is not an assassination but a burglary, when they have not even commenced the investigation? Is that not conclusive of the investigation that is being just started? Mr. Speaker, every day we come here, almost every member will cite section 14, subsection 2, paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, to insinuate the security and welfare of the people. Will we continue to only make noise and shout? Mr. Speaker, this is a serious issue and should be of utmost concern. Mr. Speaker, if the House of the Deputy Senate President is not safe and we are approaching elections, whose house is safe in Nigeria? Let us be realistic. If the Deputy Senate President can by 4 a.m. have his house attacked and there are a retinue of security personnel there, that means that is a compromise of security on the life of Nigerians. And we don't want us to talk about it. Mr. Speaker, the motion ought to be supported without any iota of equivocation or doubt or non-support. And I so support it.
Honorable Rotimi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, my name is Prince Rotimi Agusoye, representing Oshope Federal Constituency of Lagos. Mr. Speaker, my contribution to this motion. Love it. I support the motion, but one thing we need to find out, as my colleague has said, the last speaker, comrade, is that there were policemen in the Deputy Senate President's house when that happened. I want to ask, because of what happened to the late Chief Bolaide, he was a minister when he was killed. There were policemen in his house. But when they were in there, the policemen went to eat. Probably they went for their lunch at that time. So we could say there was compromise then. But we want to know, in this very case, maybe at 4 a.m., the policemen with the Deputy Senate President went for breakfast. Yes, we want to know whether they went for breakfast. And also, I had the opportunity to listen to the police on channels yesterday night when they said they are investigating and that the case is a mere that of a burglary. But they said they are investigating and already they are telling us it was a case of burglary. We'll let them investigate and let them bring out the result of their investigation or the report. But Mr. Speaker, we must be sincere here. If the police were there, the first set of the people they were supposed to round up, I mean, that the guards there, the policemen, let them arrest them, conclude their investigation, and let us have the report of their investigation. For us to say, for now, that they were assassins will be, judgmental, and we don't want to be judgmental here. Let them go and do their investigation, let them conclude their investigation, and let us have their report before we can now move ahead. That's my contribution, my sincere contribution, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
So, I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. We move on to the first order of the day, which is commencement of debate on the general principles of Bill for an Act to provide for the periodic revision of the laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and for related matters, standing in the name of the House Leader. Honorable members will recall that the bill was transmitted from the Senate seeking concurrence of the House and read the first time on Tuesday, 15th May 2018. And I invite the Leader of the House to move that the bill be now read the second time.
Speaker, respected colleagues, I hereby rise to move for the motion for a bill for an act to provide for the division of laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and for related matters HB 144. I so move.
Rules of business.
Mr. Speaker, actually, I will second, but I also raise a point of order on this Senate bill, Mr. Speaker. But may I second with the motion?
You are seconding under protest. Leader, please lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, respect for this. It is a very straightforward bill coming from the Senate, having work on it, and then passing us for concurrence. Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, what this bill seeks to attain are very simple. One, to enable us to have a periodic review of our laws into a single compendium, and I think if this is done, it's going to a very large extent reduce the accessibility or inaccessibility of our various laws usage for the various courts and use of reference against the lawmakers. Mr. Speaker, this particular assignment has been done and will be carried out at the discretion of the Attorney General of the Federation. This is not right, and for the last time these laws were reviewed and compiled, it has taken so much time. This has given rise to and then accessibility to piracy in the system. As we move out of the street, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that almost all the laws you get being sold outside are not the authentic laws of this country. If this is done, it will reduce the piracy, it will also increase the accessibility, and they bring in also have authentic sorts of references. Mr. Speaker, the law says that at the end of every 10 years, there should be a review, and then it is vested in the hands of the Law Reform Commission. This means then the powers of the Attorney General partly is being taken off, so that the Law Reform Commission would actually be saddled with that one and then be performing this particular function. Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, I think I want to beg my colleague, Honorable Pajok, to allow this pass, because as I said that he has an objection or something like that, but I think it is in the interest of this country to have our laws, the one that are always working here meticulously, reviewed periodically, so that we can have a single compendium after every 10 years. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I beg for the support, and I wish the other members and colleagues will allow the passage for the reason of this particular bill to be read for this contract as so submitted. Thank you, sir.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Edward Pajok. I represent the South East. Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, I wouldn't have anything to say in objection to this bill. However, Mr. Speaker, the bill as it is couched seeks to be a stand-alone bill. However, we already have in existence, Mr. Speaker, the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act, Cap N118. Ali? Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to say is that we have an existing law, the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act, Cap N118, which already establishes the law reform commission. And Mr. Speaker, in section 5, subsections 2, D, and E, the law reform commission is saddled with the responsibility of periodically revising the laws of the Federation. Yes, this particular extant law may not have said explicitly that there should be 10 years no review. But Mr. Speaker, I think that the Senate ought to have amended the existing law, not to bring a stand-alone legislation, otherwise it will make nonsense of the present law. That's why I said, I think it would be better for us to stand down this version. Let's take a look at it, and then we'll confer with the Senate, because I do think that with this existing law, it would be better for the Senate to amend the existing law and not to bring a stand-alone law, otherwise to contradict the existing law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Leader of the House, what I don't know is whether we have the details of this new bill. Because if it repeals the existing law, then it will appear that it's in order. But if it doesn't repeal this one, by the time we have passed this, we are going to have two laws on the same subject matter. So if we don't have that information, then we may do the... Okay, Leader.
Yes, sir. I think based on the country raised by the Chairman House and Rules, sir, I will beg to stand the bill now until we clear and then sort out before we send to the House, sir.
Consideration of the bill stepped down by leave of the House. Second order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles of the bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers in the federal government agencies and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Sajos Oseogun. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 3rd July 2018. I now invite Honorable Ogun to move that the bill be now read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly esteemed colleagues, I'm Sejus Ogun. I represent East and Southeast, East and Northeast, and I'm from Edo State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers in the federal government agencies and for related matters be read for a second time. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Hassan Amali. The front rows are not working.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, Hassan Saleh, representing Ado of Boko Obadibo Federal Constituency from Benue, I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Sergius. I so second.
Honorable Sergius, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to quickly add that this bill is co-sponsored with Honorable Babajide Benson for the records. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm glad to have the opportunity to lead a debate on the age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies. Eradication bill which seeks to stop the spate of disqualifying ordinary qualified job seekers in federal government agencies on account of their age. A consideration of this bill will ensure that no Nigerian job applicant in federal government agencies is denied employment on account of age. Therefore, demonstrate the sincere commitment of this House in discharging its constitutional mandate of making laws for the good of Nigeria and her citizens. Objectives of this bill. The bill seeks to, 1, provide a regulatory framework that eradicates age discrimination against job seekers in federal government-owned agencies and organizations. 2, ensure that the fundamental human rights of citizens as contained in the Constitution are not violated. 3, ensure that no one is discriminated against on account of his or her age or the circumstances surrounding his or her birth. 4, allow for vibrant Nigerian youth to gain employment into the institutions and agencies of the federal government of Nigeria. And 5, reduce as much as possible the rate of unemployment in the country. Content structure of the bill. The bill has 6 clauses. 1, clause 1 makes general provision for eradication of age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies in Nigeria. Clause 2 provides citation of the bill. Clause 3 provides for the objectives of the bill, which basically is eradicating age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies in Nigeria. Clause 4 stipulates the specific principles to observe in the conduct of recruitment into federal government agencies in Nigeria. Clause 5 provides interpretation of technical terminologies to ease reading and understanding of content of the bill. And Clause 5. Clause 6 gives the short title of the bill. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a very straightforward bill and very, very harmless. I would not want to spend too much time debating this because most of my colleagues have asked for opportunity to also debate this. But basically, this bill is primarily targeted at federal government agencies because they should set a good example. We know the multinationals, the banks are all practicing this these days. But even if we are going to accuse the banks and the multinational companies, the oil companies and the service companies, what about the federal government agencies? They should not participate in this. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we know these days in Nigeria that ASU strike, as they are now, they are actually on strike, like somebody jokingly said that day, ASU strike is now a semester in Nigeria. The children of the poor, really, how many people can afford to go to school, graduate at the age of 22, finish your service at 23, and be ready to take a job at 24, 25. Because the masses that vote for us, they go to public schools. So by the time they are through with ASU and we use service, they are already 26, 27. And yet, the hiring age in Nigeria today has become between 25 and 27. And we are saying this is not right, it must be checked. It must be checked. Because at the end of the day, if children of the poor in this country cannot get jobs, especially in the federal government agencies, then where are we sending them to? We are complaining that they are going to Libya. The ladies are going to France and to Spain and to Italy to prostitute. But when they cannot get jobs here because they are being discriminated because of their age, what are we expecting of these young ones? So, Mr. Speaker, I actually have an example to just give of a young man that I know that graduated at age 25, made a 2-1 petroleum engineering from a federal university. This young man today is 32 years old. I'm aware of a multinational company that just advertised for a job. I know the MD of the company who has clearly told me, send CVs, I will make sure that they are invited. But that young man does not qualify anymore. Do you know what it takes to go to a federal university in petroleum engineering? And he made a 2-1. But he doesn't qualify for that job today. He's 32 years old. Due to no fault of his. So, Mr. Speaker, there's just a lacuna in our laws. And that's what the multinationals, that's what the banks have exploited. But what we are saying, the federal government also should not be caught in this web. So this bill seeks to cure that lacuna, to open up the space for every young man that has gone to school to study should be interviewed for a job based on his qualification and his capacity to do the job. We have extant laws that are against discrimination in this country. They are all cited in my brief. Mr. Speaker, this bill will have similar laws in other countries like the United States of America, like the United Kingdom, and even South Africa here, to stop discrimination by reason of age. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to give opportunity to my friends, my colleagues here to add to this, but I want to ask this House to support that this bill stays in second reading. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Namdas.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurazak Namdas. I represent the people of Genye, Jada, Tongoma, and Banwa. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this very important bill sponsored by my colleague Sanjos. I recall, Mr. Speaker, that in this House sometime last year, I moved a motion of urgent public importance on age discrimination by employers in the labor market. Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate that agencies of government set, and indeed private sector, set ridiculously low maximum age limits like 22, 25, and 27 years. And the Constitution of Nigeria is very clear. Nobody should be discriminated on account of either his age or whatever. And just as he said, this can only be obtained in an ideal society where things work, where children will get to school in succession without any breaches. But here, because of the rate of poverty, you find out that somebody will finish his primary school and may not have time to go to secondary school. We waste some years. And then after he finishes secondary school, for no offense of his, because of poverty, he may not be able to go to the next level of education. He will finish his university at after 30 years. He may not be doing his NYS. Now he has not offended anybody. Now the opportunity for him to take job comes, and somebody say no, you have to be 22 years, you have to be 23 years. So this is very sad that is happening in Nigeria. Of course, more serious of the fact that we should recognize the fact that there was what we call embargo on employment some years back. I remember there was embargo on employment for several years. People were just taking giving employment through the back door. There was no official employment that were given to people. So for a period of over 10 years, this employment was not there. And somebody graduated at the age of 22 at that time, 10 years ago, he could not get job. Now, he is 30-something years for no offense of his, and somebody said that he should not be given the opportunity to do. And I feel that it is very wrong that this kind of law should be, a decision should be taken. Government policies should be done in a manner that it should be all inclusive. Everybody should have the opportunity to be able to finish his school and get a job. I recall, Mr. Speaker, I said at that time that the Ministry of Labour and Productivity need to reverse this trend, because that is very ideal, because people should not be allowed, only people that have opportunity are the ones that will get a job. I therefore support the researchers for bringing this very bill, so that at least opportunities should be open, that we are in a period that we cannot say it's an ideal society, Mr. Speaker, because the rate of unemployment is so high. That's why you find people being kidnapped on a daily basis. I think just because of the fact that people are making business, they want to take their job. So I feel this thing should be reversed, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues should support this very important bill. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Isaka.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Honorable Ibrahim Ayapuli Isaka. Before I was for federal constituency, I'm from Ogun State. I want to applaud and give a serious standing ovation for my friend, colleague, Honorable Sadi Ozogu, and all those that have contributed so far about this wonderful bill. A few things I just want to say about this, Mr. Speaker. There is this general axiom that no one was ever born a criminal. It is the society that made them to be so. Nowadays, we have calls where parents, even self-help, self-sponsored students, that they have spent money on their own, suffered to graduate. Since the government or even the employers of labor have not opened the space for this set of people to be employed in this country, what a double jeopardy. After 2, 3, 4 years, the job is not even there and all hope is lost. We have had cases of this self-admission and people committing suicide simply because they are frustrated. If you graduate even at the age of 21, you want to do even first class, and after graduation 4 or 5 years, the job is not there, you start to lose hope. Start to lose hope because you know that the space, the time, and the year ahead is no longer favorable to you. And because of this, our students, the graduates, they tend to buy up this normal society to commit criminal acts, even those that we see traveling out of this country. This voyage to Italy, to Europe, dying on the road and not stop. If they know that the future is secure and that they are not age bad, definitely they will still find something pending the time that the luck will shine on them to secure this employment. But only out of frustration, out of the fact that they know that the future is not holding anything
for them, the society is not even ready to accommodate them. Because by the time you get to 20, 30 years, nobody is ready to employ you. So we need this legislation. We need this law. In fact, it is needed more than yesterday to ensure and secure this future for our youth. The job will be there. At the end of the day, then somebody will tell you, because you are 25 years old, you cannot do it. So, Mr. Speaker, apart from this, I have seen evidence backing up that there is a consistent correlation between crimes and unemployment in this country. So if that hope is not there and is dashed and is lost, this society will continue to be a very, very dangerous, hazardous society for us to live. So we need to create this space for these people, for our youth, to see that the future is secured for them. And this is the only way we can do that. With this little, I want to once again ask our honorable colleagues to give this a full backing and allow it to pass. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, I am coming from a very different angle. And I will wish my brother to be with me so that he steps down this particular bill because of the following reasons, sir. When you say you want to eradicate age limit in job recruitment, in what category are you talking of? You know that you require a very agile person that is mentally sound, of good health, to serve in the security, one of the areas of challenge of this country. And by the time you go into this one, you say, let's eradicate. Are you saying that those at the age of 50, 60 should also be employed, provided they are seeking employment into Nigerian security? Are they the kind of people that will come and then safeguard us and give us good security in this country? We should be cautious on what we are bringing, so that we go and tackle the areas of concern where we think we are having problems, instead of now beginning an omnibus and very wide space that at the end of it, if we start operating, it shall not be feasible to operate. My take here, sir, that there are jobs that we know. For you to be a member of National Assembly, there is age limit. You must attain the age of 27 now before you are a member of National Assembly. This is because of the tax that you are coming to do. It is assumed that you must have reached some mental ordinance and understanding before you can be allowed to come into chamber, either as a member of State Assembly or National Assembly, presidency. And I think it goes for every kind of job. In as much as we want job for our people, we should be cautious. Again, in the judiciary side, you know that at the age of 65, they are supposed to retire for 70. And by the time you go with that one, are you now saying, okay, there shouldn't be any entry called age retirement? Because if there is no age for entry, then there will be no age for retirement. And this will cause a little problem. For me, I will beg my colleague to step down this particular bill, let him go and do a proper work, come back with it, then we'll consider. Thank you very much, Mr. Sir.
Any contributor? Honorable Dimeji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Ayedelola Dimeji. I represent Ado in therefore the Federal Conference. I'm from the Kebbi State. I rise to lend my voice to this important bill. Let me start by saying that age discrimination is an artificial barrier in the way of job applicants, especially in an environment where jobs are not there. What we are doing is to kill the hope of people, and people will have to resort to fortifying their age. We are trying to campaign against corruption, where we now place artificial barrier in people's way. The natural tendency is for them to try to remove this barrier, and that's by fortifying their age. Aside from the military and paramilitary services, where there might be physical requirements to do their jobs, I see no reason why we should have age barriers to people applying for employment. I have very good experience in personnel management. We have seen people that even at the age of 35, they are sharper than 26-year-old. To now say that somebody at 32, 35 cannot apply for job means that the person is useless. When you place barrier in front of people, and they now reach that barrier and they cannot go forward, frustration will set in. Frustration will lead to anger and bitterness. This will lead to crime. And that is why today we have so many people that are into crimes, they're into robbery, they're into kidnapping, abduction, to do whatever they can do to make money for survival. Like I said, hope is important. Hope keeps us alive. When this hope is now removed, people tend to find a way of making sure they survive. And whatever that can make them survive, they are ready to do. Whether that now injures the interest of others, even where it affects their life, they don't bother. So I really support this bill that age barrier should be removed in the way of people. We have parents that have 3, 4 children, graduates, they are already beyond the age limit for freshers into jobs. The implication is that such families, they are already doomed. So we need to really live up to expectation of giving people hope, because one of the functions of a leader is to be a dealer of hope. Let us give our young generation hope to survive. So I support this bill and I encourage all others to please rise and support it seriously. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. God bless.
Honorable Deputy. Go to the third row. The floor, the front speaker is not working.
Right Honorable Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Garba Adeti Muhammad. I represent Sabangari Federal Constituency of Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I have to commend the author of this bill, because this is one of the things that has been in the front burner even in the last assembly, when a member of this house brought this in form of motion. I've been listening to other speakers. Mr. Speaker, as the author of the bill has said, somebody will graduate at the age of 2022. You will spend the next 10 years without employment, and once the opportunity comes, you will be disqualified based on age. So this has become double jeopardy. Not even double jeopardy. Even the space that have secured appointment after service will now be 10 years in senior, even while in the service. So I think, Mr. Speaker, this bill is a very, very important bill, particularly with the situation we are, that the issue of unemployment has become alarming. My only problem with the bill, Mr. Speaker, is in the area of military and paramilitary. Because in those areas you need able young men that are very active. So while I support the bill, but I think that issue should be looked into when we are making the consideration. Because the military and the paramilitary, they need able, strong and energetic young people. So in total, I'm in full support of the bill, and I urge my colleagues to pass it. Any other contribution will come during the public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. I'm Abubakar Chika Adamu. I represent Shirora Jumia Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, yes, the bill is in tune with reality of Nigeria of today. But however, like how most of the contributors made a certain reservation, particularly in the area of military and paramilitary, I concur with them. Mr. Speaker, we need to know the history. Why the public service even peg years in those days. Now, what is happening today, pegging 25 to 27, 30, is an administrative thing that denied a lot of people from coming into the public service. Mr. Speaker, we should emphasize more on the experience and the qualification required in the public service rather than the age. Mr. Speaker, you can advertise a job, whether it is level 08, there is somebody who probably graduated at the age of 35, at the age of 38. You should not deny him the opportunity to serve in those areas. Yes, in the military, you can peg years. Nobody, I repeat, nobody will now at the age of 40 will say he wants to go and be a recruit in the military. He does not even have the strength. Though I see little about his brief that discuss even in terms of sport, there should be age bracket. But he is talking particularly about the public service. Mr. Speaker, the public service rule talk about you cannot employ somebody only at the age of 50. Anybody who is above the age of 50 can only be employed on contract basis. But however, what made it possible even in those days, it is because the retirement age is 60, and therefore if you are employed after the age of 50, you cannot be entitled to gratuity, because gratuity can only be given to you after serving 10 years in public service. But now, the pension system is pay as you go. It's a contributory pension system. And if it is contributory pension system, one can be employed into the main civil service even at the age of 53, at the age of 54, if you have the required qualification or experience required by those jobs. And therefore, I think the bill is worth doing, but I think we need to polish the bill when it comes to public hearing, so that it will serve or it will go in the tune with the tune of reality of today. Mr. Speaker, that is my just little contribution. The bill is okay, but again, there are other reservations that need to be taken care of if the bill must see the light of the day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
Honorable Baba Jimmy, who is a co-sponsor of the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you for the privilege to contribute to this bill. My name is Baba Jimmy Benson. I represent the very good people of the Ikorodu Federal Constituency of Lagos. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Chika has almost wrapped up what I was going to contribute, but I must also say that it is only in age that we have discrimination. I have never seen an advert come out from a federal government MDA saying that women shouldn't apply or a particular sect of religion shouldn't apply. So why should this apply to, why we have an age discrimination when public opportunities are available? Mr. Speaker, it may interest you to note that even the NYSC scheme accepts youths that are 30 years old. Why then should we have a discrimination whereby people who are under 25, over 25 are not eligible? Mr. Speaker, it may also interest you to know that a lot of unemployed youths, about 80% of them are between the ages of 18 and 34. What we inadvertently do with these public opportunities are that we limit the age limit to about 25. So a larger percentage of our youth do not have the opportunity to come into the public service. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why we pattern out this bill. It is a bill that I believe will foster national unity and bring a lot of youth into the employment bracket. So I therefore urge and beg all my fellow colleagues to please pass this bill with the speed of light. Thank you.
Honorable ID.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Representative Ivy Gian, member representing Bariki-Ladi of Federal Constituency. I'm from Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, I want to contribute on this bill by referring this House to Section 17, 3A of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the one that has to do with the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. And it says the state shall direct its policy towards ensuring that A, all citizens, without discrimination on any group whatsoever, have the opportunity for securing adequate means of livelihood, as well as adequate opportunity to secure suitable employment. Ordinarily, this provision of the Constitution would have served as a guide for government agencies to comply with this. But the issue with the provision of the Constitution under fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy has been the argument of non-justiciability. And I think what this law is out to do, it will help us to bring about enforcement. And in the area of enforcement, what I would require to also understand is whether the bill has made provision for penalties to ensure that agencies that do not comply are penalized. If that is not in the provision, then I think at the committee stage, we should make provision for penalties and sanctions against those that will not comply with this very important bill and law that is in the making. That will be my contribution, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Last contributor will be Honorable Johnson Oguma. If this will speak after Oguma has spoken.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my respected colleagues. I am Honorable Johnson Agwagide Oguma. I represent all the people of Etako Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my brother, Honorable Sedis, for coming up with this bill. I am in support of the bill because the law discriminating against on the basis of age is mainly targeted at mostly people from the rural areas, villages. Because when you check the process, the level you get to before you start school as a villager, and what you go through to get to secondary school, and before even higher institution, then you now talk about graduation, you discover that for a villager to graduate from a university is always between the ages of 25 and 27. I know we are many of us pass through the stages. So the law is targeted at villagers, that is one. Then the other one, many of us have already said so many things which I supported. But the other thing is that it contributes to the insincerity you find among our youth today. Because of this age discrimination, you discover that mostly our youth, if not about 70% of them, they are in the habit of changing ages almost every year, depending on the job. Whatever that is on the advert, they go and declare age to suit whatever advert that is in the media. So we need to support this bill and see how we can regulate it. And as such, Mr. Speaker, too, I want to say that maybe when we get to the committee level too, I am of the opinion that it must not be restricted to federal agencies alone, but it should be Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Yes. The mic is not working. I guess that's the problem we have. The front rows have problems. It's first and second row. I think it's the third row that is one. That's strange.
I only just told it on. They can use it for free.
Thank you very much, Sir Jos. Incidentally, I might likely speak against your bill, so you don't have to. My name is Lasu Yusuf. I represent the record room. Oloruda Orolu Osogbo Federal Constituency. I'm from Osun State. Mr. Speaker, this bill touches the heart of what we can call part of what is likely to be restructuring in Nigeria. How do I mean? Already there is a provision in the Constitution that says that you cannot discriminate against any citizen based on so many factors: age, sex, religion, and the rest of them. And of course, it has been correctly cited by Gian while he was making his contribution. Mr. Speaker, building a society is always a tasking job. I remember when we were young and I was graduating, as far back as some 32 years ago, we have always read adverts that will say, if you are more than 24, don't bother to apply. There were so many adverts like that in those days, particularly when it comes to applying to multinationals, most especially in the oil company. When we look at this bill, it's a bill that is targeted specifically at public sector alone. What about the other sector of the economy? What about banking? What about oil company? No, it's not. A lawyer is here trying to speak for me. They say they will take a cue. I don't think it works like that. If we cannot take a cue from the provision of the Constitution that we have not tested in our court of law, because one of the few problems Nigerians have with our statute books is that we don't test the provisions of our laws. That's the major problem. If we have tested in the past that particular section of the Constitution that says that you cannot be discriminated against, I don't think that will be necessary. This will not be necessary any longer. We have not tested that section of the Constitution. So why do we want to set up another bill that is not in consonance with the provision of the Constitution itself. And like Johnson just said, am I correct? Our society, when I say restructuring, Nigerian society is still evolving. If you look at the white people, they already know that by 6 you must be in school. By 12 you must be out of secondary school. By 15, 16 you must be out of secondary school. By 18 you must be out of college. And possibly by 22 or 23 you must be out of the university. They have set standards, they have followed it over the years. But in Nigeria, we have refused to set standards in certain areas of our life that can help us at least to mitigate against things like this. So, Mr. Speaker, somebody, when Speaker was contributing the other time, what will a 50-year-old man be looking for a public sector again? If as at that time you are not in employment and you are not in a private employment, the one you have for yourself, what contribution can you make when you are just strengthening the public sector at the age of 50? You are already going past your prime. So as far as I'm concerned, on moral ground, on both moral and emotional ground, this bill looks reasonable. But when it comes to fundamentals of the society, I think it's just pure duplication of a provision of the Constitution that has not been tested. I would prefer a situation where somebody who has been discriminated against based on age to go to court and take that section of the Constitution that says you must not be discriminated against. If we don't do that, that means, Mr. Speaker, I want to be saved from this person. I want to be saved from this young man. Let us, all of us, cast our mind back to that landmark judgment when Rotimi Amici was declared the governor, although we have been told that he will not be cited any longer, no longer a president. But I know for sure that one of the major challenges we have in Nigeria is that we don't subject sections of our constitution and our status book to test. If we do, this bill is not necessary. It's talking about discrimination. And once the constitution has provided for discrimination in any form, then it will be tested. Like I said, Honorable Sergeant Ogun, thank you for offering me your mic. But at the same time, I want to say this. I want my honorable colleagues to take a cue, like the lawyer sitting by my side said we should take the other corporate entities to take cue. We should take a cue from taking that bold step in making sure that every point in time that we are faced with a situation like this, we go to our statute books and test those sections of our law at the law court. If we don't do that, this bill will be inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll put the question after the dears are spoken. Question is the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill. Your own mic too appears not to be working. Use. Only mine is working.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers in the federal government agencies and for related matters. Second reading.
The bill is referred to Committee on Labour, Employment and Productivity. The acting whip, what is your point of order? The point of order is over. How? No, he had a waiver. Yes, he had a waiver. If the mics are not working, why the people, if they can't? Honorable colleagues, it appears that we will have to draw the curtains to today's proceedings. We had a power surge that affected some of the control panels, and you know that these technologies are outdated. It's not something you can source from the market. The mic was installed in 1999, and we've just received word that for them to fix it, they will have to order for the panels from Germany, and it's going to take 3 weeks. So, if you check, most of the mics behind are working, and the directive to the management is to remove the panels from the front seat and replace them with the panels that are running the mics at the back seats. So tomorrow, when we come to the house, we'll request honorable members to move to the front, because most of the mics at the front rows will be working. Those at the back will not be working until we take delivery of these panels from Germany in the next 3 weeks. So that appears to be the case. Chairman, Rules and Business, could you please move that we suspend consideration of the other items on the other paper? he has moved that we suspend consideration of all outstanding items on the other paper. Seconder, you have heard me now. Honorable Dende. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Leader, motion for adjournment. Rules have been. House hereby adjourns to tomorrow, 11 a.m. Prompt. No question.
Go